Awesome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Legendary Chiropractor Podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Johnny Reuter, and tonight we have a very special and unique guest on because most of the time we're sitting down with students or we're sitting down with doctors and we're discussing all about chiropractic. But tonight is a very special evening for myself personally and just for you guys as viewers of the show and listeners of the show because we have Richard Byerly on, who is a certified public accountant, and he's going to dive deep into business, money, finances, loans, you name it. We're going to talk about it tonight on the show. I could not be more thrilled. And he's going to answer any questions. If you guys got questions, please drop them in the comments. I will get them over to him. He's on Skype. I'm on Facebook and Skype, so I make sure the message is relayed. So make sure if you do have questions tonight that you drop them in the comments, and I will ask them probably at the end of the show. But without further ado, Richard is tuning in from Auburn, Alabama. He is a War Eagles fan. I just have to preface that. I just got to say that right out of the gate. So if all of my Alabama fans, just keep watching. I promise it only gets better. It only gets better. So I love you guys. We will be right back from thanking these initial sponsors, and then we're going to dive deep into Richard's history and how he really stumbled upon the chiropractic profession and helping chiropractors with their money and finances. So we'll be right back from thanking these sponsors. To Inspire Women is the elite boutique coaching company for chiropractors who are looking to live life and run business in a way that is personal, unique, and authentic. They focus on business systems and money mindset mastery so you can pay down debt, be more profitable, and serve more people. Their goal is to empower you to achieve success by your own rules and your own definition. Head to toinspirewomen.com now because they know there's a better way. Chiro HD, superior cloud-based practice management software. Chiro HD is a user-friendly, all-in-one EHR solution built with one mission: to help you run your practice like a boss. Learn more at chirohd.com. Dr. Brad Glowacki runs one of the highest volume, highest profile, highest profitability practices in the world, and it's all run with vitalistic communication procedures. Those procedures from his office are then shared with other chiropractors at his various trainings as a part of Level Up Mentoring. This information is created, developed, tested, and then packaged simplistically before being taught. With bruises and scars from making mistakes, Dr. Glow always delivers refined content that is battle-tested and simplified for use on Monday. To level up your life and practice, head over to levelupmentoring.rocks. That's levelupmentoring.rocks. Total Clinic Solutions is your go-to source for purchasing both brand new and refurbished chiropractic equipment, as well as phone support for repairs and maintenance. Call Derek and allow him to combine your wishes and his 23 years of chiropractic equipment expertise to find what's best for you and your patients at 704-622-4089 or head to totalclinicsolutions.com now. It's time that chiropractors look beyond spinal alignments and measure the nerve connections that keep our patients feeling strong and performing at their peak. CLA designed the Insight scanning technologies to transform exams and generate powerful reports that give practitioners the certainty they have been searching for. Learn how CLA has partnered with practices around the world by going to insightcla.com. Easily share your passion for chiropractic and look good doing it with Above Down Apparel, offering a premium lineup of principled apparel that's impossibly soft, sustainably sourced, and chiropractic AF. Visit abovedown.co and follow them on Instagram to learn more and score yourself some sweet chiro swag. Sked is the all-in-one system that allows for amazing control and flexibility of your scheduling. Yes, your next new hire. Every aspect of when and where you service your customers is at your command. Sked is tightly integrated with your existing EHR system. This software was made by a chiropractor specifically for chiropractic. No joke. Go check out their latest care plan feature by heading to go.sked.life/legendarypod. Dr. David Toohill is an innovative product and marketing strategist, bridging the gap between your vision and strategic plan. He will help you design specific products and processes that are both scalable and set up to produce long-term revenue and growth. He has previously worked with influencers that include Dr. Josh Axe, Jordan Rubin of Ancient Nutrition, Olympic gold medalist Shawn Johnson, and many, many others. Schedule your call with Dr. Dave today by heading to meetwithdrdave.com. Thank you for allowing this brief disruption to take place. And now back to the program. Fantastic. Welcome back to the Legendary Chiropractor Podcast. We are live tonight with Richard Byerly, who is a CPA out of Alabama, and he's going to talk to us all about money, finances, loans, anything you can imagine in regards to what a chiropractor needs to know to open a successful and sustainable chiropractic practice. So first, Richard, please start us off with a little history of yourself, how you got into the chiropractic profession and working with chiropractors, and how you chose the route of an accountant.
Well, thanks, Johnny. I appreciate you having me on tonight. Following some big names, I've watched many of your videos, and I really appreciate you giving me a chance just to speak. And I want to pour into the students, and there might even be some docs listening tonight so they can just hear a little bit about what we're doing and maybe get some good advice here or there. I'm so glad you didn't say taxes when you talked about the things I was going to talk about, because I'm not sure I could think of anything more boring at 9 o'clock at night than taxes. So, but I graduated from the University of Texas at Arlington, go Mavs, in 1982. And became an accountant. In 1990, I got my CPA, and I didn't really know why. I just did. And I worked in manufacturing at the time, and then I moved into healthcare. And so I did 25 years in healthcare, 20 years at the local hospital here in Auburn. And I began to get a little bit older and think, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? And I've always wanted to have my own business. And so what better than a CPA firm? And we just my wife and I prayed about it, and a lot of things just fell into line. And so here we are with a practice. We've been in practice for 10 years now. I say we, she supports me from home. She's a former school teacher, but I run this thing. We've got about 15 employees now. So in 10 years, we've really grown a lot. And Dr. Rusty Herring, Dr. Rusty, mm-hmm. He is my chiropractor, and I've known Dr. Rusty since he was a little boy. And so when he was opening his practice in 2011 or 12, right in there, I met with him to be his CPA, and he allowed me to come in and help him with his books and finances and payroll and all those things. And through Dr. Rusty, about 5 years later, I got involved with a lot of chiropractors, and we did it through AMPed, through the program AMPed, and through that and some other good fortune, we've got about 100 chiropractors now. And we love it. Nobody gets out of my office without hearing what a subluxation is. I love to talk to my clients about getting adjusted. When they tell me they can't afford to, I tell them they can't afford not to. And so we really promote chiropractic here in the office. Everybody in the office gets adjusted on a regular basis. And, we've not had any worries with COVID-19 because our spines are healthy. And, and we don't worry about it. We all come to work and make it happen. And so it's been a tough time for everybody. A lot of our businesses, it's been a really hard time. But they're all coming back now, and their volume's growing. I saw Dr. Anthony Pellegrino. I know you've had him on. I saw him today, best day since March the 9th or 3rd or something. So a shout out to Dr. Anthony. But a lot of our practices are recovering and getting back where they were, and so we're happy to see that. But anyway, that's what got me in chiropractic is with Dr. Rusty, and the rest is history. And so over these years, we've learned a lot about starting a chiropractic business, and that's kind of some of the things we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that story, and I love to hear how people got involved in the chiropractic profession, especially when they're not a doctor or not even a student, right? It's like, hey, I just have this other business that fits perfectly in line and seamlessly with what you're doing, and everyone needs a CPA, everyone needs an accountant, and so what better person than yourself to fall in line? And I know our office is extremely grateful for you and everything that you do for us. So it's been an honor to kind of know you and live through you vicariously a little bit. And now I get to sit down with you virtually and chat with you and ask you questions all about accounting and what that looks like for a chiropractor. So this is really exciting. Tonight we are breaking down what someone should have told you prior to opening a practice, and Richard's going to walk us through that, literally tell us, the ins and outs of what you need to know before opening a building, the steps to opening a practice, and really handling and managing student loans and student loan debt. And I know that's a big one for my audience because it's a lot of recent grads, it's a lot of current students, and a lot of us are overwhelmed with student loans up to here, or rather like up to here, off the charts, right? And we don't really know how to navigate that situation, especially when the income isn't necessarily coming in yet, or we're opening a practice and we're going deeper into the debt game than we were coming out of school. So it becomes a lot, and it becomes a lot of moving parts, and I'm hoping that, and I'm knowing that you're going to help us navigate those things tonight. So let's start with what you wish someone would have told you before opening a practice. Let's take this, though, back to graduation, right? I want you to take this back to what someone should have told you or should be telling you prior to graduating from chiropractic school in regards to business and finances. Go ahead.
Well, I'll start with one of the big ones for us, and that is make sure you have enough cash when you open. And there's nothing worse than opening your practice. I remember back in the early days, we'd have a doc say, we borrowed $100,000, we spent $99,000, and now we're going to open up, and we made it. And you just can't make it with $1,000. You've got to have cash in the bank when you open that practice. We like to suggest 2 months of operating expenses and 2 months of personal expenses. That usually runs between $25,000 and $30,000 when you open. You can't really run your business properly without cash in the bank. And, you're making decisions that you normally wouldn't make, like, well, I'm going to skip this screening event because I don't have the $1,500 that it takes to do that. And the event's 6 months from now, and I just don't have the money. And that just can't happen. You've got to have that cash. So a really big part of the financial side of starting a business is understanding that when you borrow your money, you've got to have enough cash to make it all happen. Big deal right there. Yeah. Another one is just to continue to push yourself and remind yourself that you're part of something bigger. And, we love to see our offices make money, but we also understand the other side of it, the health side. And so we focus on the money because that's what we do. We're accountants, but we totally understand the other side. And that's kind of the bigger picture. We've got to make sure that we're focused on what we're doing in our community and getting our community healthy. Huge thing there. And I think when you focus on that, the other side of it kind of comes. It's just like my practice. We just focus on taking care of our offices. We have other clients locally too, a dress shop and a trucking company, and we just focus on taking care of them, and the word gets out, and then we grow based on the fact that we're doing a good job. So it's the same thing. Do a good job, more people come, you're getting more people healthy, and oh, by the way, you're going to make a little bit more money too. So really important starting out. Absolutely. Another thing is just leadership and communication. And a lot of, we expect, let's say, Dr. Johnny, have you ever managed anybody before now?
Not necessarily.
Yeah, I know. And we're going to expect these students to come out of school and borrow, or they already owe $400,000, and then we're going to borrow another $100,000. We're going to build a front desk and put up signage and get the fire extinguisher hung and all these things, and we're going to manage multi-generational team members. You have a 54-year-old or you have a 26-year-old, and you have to manage them differently. We're going to expect that you to be able to do that all the while adjusting every day, screening every day, health talks every day, dinners with the doc, right? All of these things, and we want you to do all that plus run a business. And so it's really difficult to expect that. So my advice is, if you're a student, go ahead and start learning different skills with communication and management and leadership and those type of things.
Yeah. I think you nailed it. I mean, those are big three, right? You got to have capital. If you're going to do anything, you have to have cash in the bank. You got to have capital to make it happen, right? And some people, what do you think about this? Because here's the reality, right? A lot of us envision this dream practice, right? We envision this, one day I'll have X, right? And a lot of students and a lot of recent grads expect that or want that right out of the gate, right? And so they take on incredible amounts of debt on top of whatever they owe from school and education to create that amazing opportunity or amazing practice right out of the gate. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's really about your chiropractic personality. It's really about how you treat your practice members. We had an office open in South Carolina, and they didn't have much money. And I think their whole build out and everything was about $15,000. They didn't even buy X-ray, which I'm not sure. I know a lot of people would disagree with that, but I think they would have people go down the road and get their X-rays. And that's one of the most profitable practices that we've seen coming out of the gate. I've got one, or we used to have one out west that spent maybe $150,000 to get the practice open, and at the end of the day are still not doing, $6,000 or $7,000 in revenue a month.
Right.
And so it really isn't about the money that you put into it. It's about the work that you do. It's about putting in the time, meeting people in the neighborhood that you're in, the Chamber of Commerce, going to events. I went to one ribbon cutting, and when the Chamber of Commerce president was about to introduce this couple, he said, they've been to every ribbon cutting we've had in the last 6 months. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of thing that you do that grows your business. It's not expensive wall hangings and expensive furniture. Humble beginnings is really important. And one more thing on that is comparison is a horrible thing to do. I always tell my staff, you don't ever see somebody, the office is all together and they're all standing together and they hold up this sign and it says, 82. Like, yeah, we hit 82 this week, right? And everybody's excited about 82. You never see that. You always see 682. And the thing is, you can't compare yourself to people because you're not them.
Right.
And you just got to put the work in and manage your office the way you want to manage it, and you can get to 682. It might take 2 more years, but it doesn't matter because you want to get there. And that's one of the things too we talk about is being able to have good roots. I put on when I sent you, deep roots create sustainable success. It's hard to go from opening to 500 visits in 6 months and be able to have any good processes and good roots. It can be done, but it's hard. And so slow growth is not a bad thing.
Yeah. And what I like to say is progress is perfect, right? I mean, if we literally just chase progression, you're 1% better than you were yesterday, right? At the end of the year, you're 365% better than you were the year before, right? So it's like, it's simple. Okay. Yeah, it's simple like that, but it's hard. And I like how you put that, your 2-word phrase, humble beginnings, is what it ties back to, right? Because a lot of us envision what we see others have, and it could have taken that person on Instagram or Facebook 10, 15, 20 years to build that for themselves. And we see it and think, I want that today, right? Or yesterday kind of thing. And I think that's really good to have is humble beginnings. When you come out of chiropractic school, you're in debt, understand what your cash, what capital you need to have in the bank, how you get to that number, and understanding what you're going to do with that cash is very important. Don't just throw it at the wall like cook spaghetti and see if it sticks or not. That's not a great strategy. And then I also want to talk a little bit here when we come back from thanking these sponsors is about tips, tricks, and simple steps to open a practice. And I want to hear from your opinion from a financial, from a business sense, because I think that's really important for docs to grasp, especially my recent guys out there, guys and gals that are, during all of the coronavirus stuff and making sure it happens for them. So we'll be right back from thanking these sponsors. After that, we're talking all about steps to opening your practice. We'll be right back, guys. Every chiropractic clinic needs a compliance program. If you are not sure what that includes or why you need one, Let Dr. Robin from RHDC Consulting help you build your chiropractic compliance. If you are ready to get started, head to robin-hale.mykajabi.com and let Dr. Robin guide you to the end result. Dr. Christy Wick is revamping the landscape of women's chiropractic coaching. With a focus on connection and congruence, she's on a mission to empower Lady DCs across the nation to create bold, successful lives and practices their way. Get started today by visiting theilluminatedsquad.com. Thank you for allowing this brief disruption to take place. And now back to the program. Fantastic. Welcome back, everyone, to the Legendary Chiropractor Podcast. Richard Byerly, CPA, is breaking it down for chiropractors, future, present, current, whatever. He's breaking it down for all chiropractors. So let's talk about steps to opening a practice, creating that deep root, sustainable practice that generates success over time. Talk to us about how to do that right out of the gate.
Will do. One of the things that's, I get to talk to a lot of students. We come to the different colleges and just have these conversations with them. And the question I always get is, what can I be doing right now? And you think about someone in quarter 4, quarter 5, quarter 6, like you sort of think, well, there's not much you can do right now because, you're still 2 years away and that sort of thing. But there really is. So on my website, we give this to students. I'm going to kind of hold it up here. You can see it. And it's on my website, ByerlyCPA.com. It's under the More tab. And we call this the Roadmap to Success. And what we've done, Dr. Johnny, is we've broken this down into the grind, which is till you graduate, the vision, graduation until you sign the lease, build until the grand opening, and then the payoff. And all these things that you need to be doing, like researching potential business locations, understanding area competition, volunteering at ribbon cuttings. Let's talk about that. How many students go into offices that are running good systems and learn how to run a chiropractic office? Some do, some don't. Right. I would highly recommend it. And if you're at Life, don't get mad at me, Dr. Hess, but if you're at Life Atlanta, don't go to Dr. Hess's office all the time because he'll show you how to run a high volume practice. But you need to go to some of these others and learn what it looks like when you start. So that's one of the most important things about running a practice is you learn how by watching other practices run, and that's a big deal. But the main thing I want to kind of get to is what do you do to get the practice open? And 6 months before the ribbon cutting, you can start these steps. And I'm going to assume you already know where you're going to open and what the name of your practice is going to be. And so what we want to do is we want to, get the name, pick the state, and then reserve that name in the state. And so if you've got a name, like if you're going to be Apex Chiropractic and there's already one in the state you want to open, you might need to pick something else. But you can reserve the name and then get your LLC. Now, some states require a PLLC, which is a professional limited liability company. And then California, I know, requires a PC, a professional corporation, but the majority of the states you get an LLC. Now you can get an attorney to do this and pay him $600. You can do it on LegalZoom and pay $300 or $400, or you can just go to the Secretary of State website for the state you're going to open and do it yourself for free. And so again, and we help a lot of our clients, students that come to us, we help them do that because they're, when you don't have a lot of money starting out, there's no reason to, sorry if there's any attorneys watching in here, but there's no reason to have an attorney get your LLC. There's other things that they can help you with for sure. Mm-hmm. Once you get that LLC, you get your EIN, which is your employer identification number. You get that from the Internal Revenue Service. And then we talk to our offices about the S corporation election. We don't have, that's a whole different show, Dr. John. Yep. But we would, and we'd love to teach that sometimes, but an S Corp is essential. It's the best tax organization you can have. And what I'll say about that is LLC is your state entity. S Corporation is a tax election with the IRS. So it's not a corporation. It's kind of a misnomer, but basically it's a tax election with the IRS. An operating agreement is required, and once you get those things, then you can open your bank account and get your business license and off you go. Now, that's kind of the legal side of opening the business, but we really want to talk about the financial side, and that's where it really gets a little bit crazy. Now, we have an Excel model called the core plan. It stands for cash, operations, revenues, and expenses. Have you heard of the core plan?
I have not.
Okay. Well, my daughter works for me, Katrina. She built it, and it's an incredible model. And when you finish it, you have all these reports and graphs and things for the bank and that sort of thing. But it really helps you put together your plan so you can determine how much cash you need to borrow. And it really opens your eyes as to what expenses you're going to have in the practice. I mean, here, let me ask you a question. If you open a practice, how much office supplies are you going to spend a month?
A lot, but you have no idea. Yeah,
you don't know.
No idea.
Right? And so that's something we give people in the core plan, is an idea of what those expenses are going to be, so they can then take that to the bank and get their loan and get the practice open. So again, a big part of the financial side is knowing how much to borrow and how much you're going to spend.
Mm-hmm.
And just like you, a lot of people, when they're coming out of school, have no idea how much it's going to cost to get the practice open. We kind of know because we've done so many of them, and we know in your first year, we're going to average about $200,000 in top line gross revenue. Year 2, about 400, year 3, about 560. So we kind of have some history. We're able to tell if you're on target with our middle ground, or if you're a little bit lagging, or if you're way out ahead of the curve.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just something we do. And that's kind of the things that you would need to do to get that business going.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. And I think I know the legal stuff is boring, it's dry cut, but a lot of people, even a lot of coaching programs and practice management groups, the practice management groups will kind of just do it for you, right? And they'll just set it up for you.
Yeah.
But a lot of practice management groups aren't teaching that stuff, right? Because it's all about, it's systems, it's procedures, it's internal office things to help patients kind of funnel through, right? And understanding like, hey, here's how to communicate on, the first day, the second visit, the third visit, etc. But it's not really like, hey, you got to go out, form an LLC, right? You have to understand what an S Corp is. You have to know what an S Corp is if you want to be that or not, right? And you're highly encouraging it, which I think is very smart. And there's, like you said, we could do a whole show on S Corps and different IRS elections. But yes, that is very important. But the basic foundational things are what create a sustainable, successful practice, right? If you do these things right, like Richard laid out for you with like 3 steps, if you do those 3 things correct, you are set on a path of trajectory to success. And that's what really matters. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. And now I want to ask you about loans, student loans, and everything like that. Talk to us, give us like a condensed version, if you will, of when the best time is to pay off student loans and how to best manage them moving forward.
Well, I'll start out with Garrett Gunderson. Have you read Garrett Gunderson at all? Have you heard?
Yes.
Listen to him?
Love him. Yeah.
One of the things he does is he ranks debt. And so we do that as well. We want to rank debt. And the way you rank a debt is you take the principal and divide it by the payment, and you get a number. If that number is below 50, we want to pay that debt off as soon as possible. And if it's above 50, we're going to let that debt just linger. And so that's one key thing is you got to take your student debt and put it in with all your other debt, your business debt, if you have a vehicle debt, if you have a home that you're paying a mortgage on. And so it really all needs to fit into the entire model. So you kind of got to know that. Now, the way we handle student loans is, you've got the income-based payment, and most students, so a student graduates, they get a 6-month deferral. We hope we get them open within 3 months. And then you're going to have a income-based payment that you can set up. And most students, once they start practice, still won't have any income for, let's say, a year and maybe even a little bit longer. And so if you're income-based and you don't have any income, then your payment is 0, right? And then once you start to get some income, then they're going to do a calculation. They take your income and they take out 1 times the poverty rate and divide it and multiply it times 10%, I believe is how that works. And then you're going to have a lower payment. And as your income rises, then you're going to begin to have a little bit higher payment. Now, for me, it's, again, grouped in with all that debt. And once you begin to meet some of your financial goals, then you can start paying off some of that debt. Now, you may want to pay off your SEMGs first, or your X-ray first. You may have a car loan you want to pay off first. You really have to look at the detail in each of those loans and determine how that goes. Now, a lot of people you hear this on like the Fox News channel. SoFi is one of them. And there's a couple other student debt where you can go in and refinance your student debt. Mm-hmm. That is very similar to a bank refinance. And so they make it sound like, hey, everybody, if you got student debt, just come to SoFi and we'll refinance it and save you a lot of money. Well, that's not really the way it works, because they want to see, just like a bank would, they want to see some history of income before they refinance that debt. Basically, it's a loan, just like a house loan, a car loan. Once you get that, it is a loan. And guess what? If there's another pandemic and the government decides to suspend loan payments for 6 months, you're not in that group. Mm-hmm. You're in SoFi and you're making that payment every month. And so people who may have done that in the last 12 months are kind of thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that, right? But what we do is then we look at each, because you have a bunch of loans, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Johnny, you got 7 or 8 or 10 loans.
Yep.
And so we just line those up and begin to look at those when we can start paying those off one at a time. And, if you've got one that's $7,900 and you've got a little extra cash, hey, let's pay this one off. Maybe we'll pay X-ray off next, then let's pay this one off. And we look at interest rates as well. But we really look at that Gunderson formula. And then once you get all of them above a factor of 50, then we start looking at interest rates. And you got to bring tax, deductibility of the interest in there as well. And so there's about a 2% spread on that. So different things. But, I would say if you're really careful with your money and don't spend a lot of it, you can probably have those loans paid off in 5 years and be debt free.
Right. That's awesome. And I think that's really important for people to hear, because a lot of times it's when we talk finances or we talk student loans, it's very doom and gloom, right? It's like, hey, you have $200,000+ worth of debt, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, we'll just, you can wait 20 years, 25 years and get them forgiven and all this stuff. You can refinance and do all this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, but if you just have someone like yourself who's not only rooting for you, but actually knows what they're doing, and you can ask questions, right? Because they understand the chiropractic profession. It's a totally different ballgame, right? It puts you in a different caliber of person and of abilities to actually pay these things off. So I highly encourage someone, if you just hopped on or you didn't hear that, go back, listen to it again, literally rewind this. If you're listening to this on audio podcast, literally rewind this 2 minutes and listen to that conversation again, because that is so important to understand. And we're talking about paying off $270,000 off in 5 years, right? Or we're talking about being debt-free in 5 to 10 years, right? If you can do that, if you really put in the work, you put in the effort, and this doesn't come with some blood, sweat, and tears, right? This comes with some work ethic, and you got to know that coming into it. So I really appreciate that. But when we come back from thanking these last few sponsors, I'm going to let you, Richard, give your little spiel on what you guys do, what your company does, and I want to make sure we drop the link for you so that whoever's watching this or listening to this understands where they can go to contact, one of the greatest CPAs in the chiropractic profession. So we'll be right back from thanking these sponsors. Dr. Stu Hoffman, founder and president of ChiroSecure Malpractice Insurance, is the foremost expert in both risk management and risk avoidance. Understanding the everyday challenges of today's practicing chiropractor and the current public perception of chiropractic has made ChiroSecure the fastest growing malpractice insurance program of the last 28 years. Find out more at chirosecure.com. Imaging Services' primary business is chiropractic solutions. With over 45 years in the industry of helping chiropractors, Michael Tokash offers free consultations on building your business. In the past year, Imaging Services has installed over 100 X-ray machines and digital X-ray systems in over 42 states across the United States. For more, head to theimagingservices.com. Thank you for allowing this brief disruption to take place. And now back to the program. Fantastic. I hope you guys have been enjoying this. We are live with Richard Byerly, CPA, and just a lover of chiropractic and our profession. And I want you guys to know that because it's really important that when you're working with people externally out of the chiropractic profession that have different expertises, that know what they're doing, that they truly do understand the chiropractic profession. Because yes, it's a unique profession. It's a very complex in ways profession. And for someone like him to know what they're doing, to understand the game, to get what your goals are moving forward and where you're coming from out of school with all of this student loan debt, it's really cool to hear. It's really refreshing to hear as a recent grad and for a chiro student to hear someone speak so highly of, hey, you can manage your business. You just got to put in a little bit of work and surround yourself by the right people, right? And I think that's really important.
That's right.
So Richard, without further ado, please close the show out. Share any last-minute advice that you have for current students, recent graduates, and then give us tell us where to go to find more out about you and get in touch with your team.
You know, the best advice that I can give anybody. Let me just tell you a story. I was at a conference recently. I was sitting in the back of the room. The room was full of some of the best chiropractors in the world. And the question was posed, how many of you are afraid to ask for help? And I thought maybe a few hands will go up, right? I mean, I'm not a doctor, so I don't get that mindset. And I was shocked that every hand in the room went up. Everybody said, I'm afraid to ask for help. And, you know, as a student, the best advice I can give you is don't be afraid to ask for help. When it comes to starting your practice, you need someone to help you. Several good CPAs out there that just work with chiropractors. And I know many of us, we start working with the students about 6 months before they open. And for us, it's free. We don't charge anything because we want you to work with us and let us get you to that ribbon cutting. And then we start charging and collecting because we're going to have a long relationship and make a lot of money on that practice. So we don't need to make a bunch up front. And so asking for help is important. And I know I'm going to mention three. I guess it's okay if I mention these mentorship groups. So I'm going to mention AMPed. I'm going to mention PX with Dr. Tony Ebel and then Dr. Glow with Level Up. You know, those are three great groups that I'm aware of. I agree with their philosophy. And, you know, you got to get in some sort of mentorship group because when you do, you've got that whole family that can help you get through the questions and the tough times. I'm on one of those groups' website or Facebook page, and I see the questions all the time coming in, people asking for help from people in the profession. And so if you're a student and you're getting ready to open, you've got to get involved in that because when I started my practice, I had no idea how to do a lot of things. And a lot of that is trial and error. But I have a good friend in the next town over. I call him my CPA dad because he's been doing it for 40 years. And he helped me with a lot of tough situations and questions. So that's one of the most important things. Don't be afraid to get help. And also, just like you, Dr. Johnny, don't be afraid to associate somewhere. You know, we've seen some doctors who have gone straight into business and failed because they just weren't ready to be a business owner. It's not about being a chiropractor. It's about owning and running a business. And not everybody is cut out for that, or I would say not everybody's ready for that right out of college. Mm-hmm. And so find somewhere to associate. If you're a little bit worried about running a business, find somewhere to associate. Associate for 2 years or 4 years, and then you'll be ready to go out on your own. It's a good chance that doctor will help you get your practice started. Maybe they'll help finance it and that sort of thing. So a lot of good things can come out of being an associate somewhere. And, the last thing is just you're young. Most doctors are young. I will say some aren't, and they've got several kids. And let me tell you, it's the hardest when you're a dad or a mom and you're open with kids. So you got to really fight hard to make that happen. But most chiropractors come out are young. And so if your practice gets delayed a year or two, we've had a couple of practices delayed by hurricanes. Of course, we've had the pandemic. And we've seen a lot of practices push their ribbon cutting into the fall. And so if you're delayed, just remember you're young. How old are you, Dr. Johnny?
26.
Can I ask?
26.
26?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, God, when I was 26, what was I doing? I don't even know. I wasn't running a business. But you got a lot of years ahead of you. And so if you have to take one or two in order to associate and get ready, that's fine. We've got some practices that have been going for 4 or 5 years, and they're making a lot of money, and they're doing a lot of adjustments and helping a lot of people. Some of them in the 600, 700, 800 visits per week range as your TRT docs. And so, don't be afraid to take a couple of more years and prepare yourself to run your practice and then get out there and make it happen. But we're in Auburn, Alabama. We're just in a little building down here in Auburn, and we've got 100 practices in 36 states. And it's amazing. God's just blessed us so much. My team is the best team that I could imagine. There's no drama. They all work hard. They're smart. They look and see what needs to be done, and they get it done, and our clients love them. And so, we're out there. I always tell the students when I talk to them, I can't do everybody's books and financials and taxes, but if you want us to do it, we'd be happy to work with you. And so it's kind of what we do and how we do it. And man, listen, I started this practice when I was 50. I'm an old man. I'm 60, but I hope to be at it for a long, long time. And if you can ever get to this point, I love every day at my job, every minute, every day. I got the best job in the world. And I love what I do. And, with grace of God, I'll continue to do it for 10 or 15 or 20 more years. Can I still do this when I'm 80?
Of course you can.
If I keep getting adjusted, right?
Yeah, exactly. You'll just be that much wiser.
That's right.
Absolutely. Well, you guys can head to ByerlyCPA.com. It's on the bottom of the screen right here. And Richard is going to drop a comment on this video afterwards with his link to his website. So you'll be able to access it there. You'll be able to access that PDF that he mentioned earlier as well, your guide to success after graduation and kind of starting up, figuring out LLCs, EINs, all that good stuff. So ByerlyCPA.com. You can head there now and check it all out. But Richard, I appreciate you being on the show tonight. I appreciate you and everything you do and your company does for chiropractors and for the profession, because without you, we wouldn't have as many successful chiropractors, and without as many successful chiropractors, we just would not have a healthy community, and that just ripples down from there, right? So we appreciate you, we salute you, and I thank you so much for being on the show tonight. Everyone, have a wonderful evening, and always be sure to head to legendarychiro.com/go and join our platform for free today. I love you guys. I appreciate you. Richard, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.